If you feel exhausted all the time, even if you're resting, it's not because of the sleep part. Feeling exhausted usually comes from a pattern. And what am I always saying? It's not the problem, it's the pattern. So we might think we're not getting all the rest we need, or we're burning out, or whatever. And that may be. You may need more rest. But let me tell you what happened to me. So I went to Playa del Carmen, Mexico, just south of Cancun, beautiful resort community, for 6 months. I put all my things in storage here in Southern California and left my apartment and flew to Playa del Carmen with 3 suitcases and an Airbnb. So I planned about a week to just get settled in and take a little break, unwind. I knew I had been working really, really hard. Like I was exhausted. And then a bunch of things just unexpected, like my son I was staying with right before I left, his apartment flooded because an upstairs neighbor had a fire, like just all kinds of weird stuff that then displaced us. And, it was just kind of a crazy exit. So I get to Playa, unpack. I'm in a beautiful little Airbnb. I have a beautiful rooftop pool. And I spend a lot of time up there. I can see the ocean. And so I'm thinking a week. Easy. I'll feel relaxed and settled in. No. And I was sleeping a lot, like I was getting easy 8, 9, sometimes 10 hours. Wasn't setting alarms. I was sleeping, but I still felt exhausted. And so I know this work well enough to know that because sleep wasn't solving my problem, I had a pattern running. And it was the pattern that was exhausting me. And for me, primarily, that pattern was feeling responsible for things that were not mine. How about that? You got me on that? Feeling responsible for things that are not actually your responsibility. Things that are other people are doing, other people are thinking, all those kinds of things. And then number 2, the pressure I was putting on myself. I was putting a lot of pressure on myself as an entrepreneur, as a single woman, in my finances, all kinds of things. And so I realized when I was continuing in this exhausted state that I needed to go find the pattern. So just so you know, I practice what I preach. So here are some of the patterns that are particularly exhausting, okay? Overgiving. Overgiving is very, very exhausting. How about this one? Over-explaining. Whether you're over-explaining at work with things to make your point in a meeting or with a client or whatever, or you're over-explaining in your personal relationships to justify or rationalize why you need what you need, or you're asking for what you're asking for. If you are managing other people's emotions, now you may not think of it as managing them, or you might, but it's that practice of being very careful about what you say, thinking about overthinking, how they're going to receive it, wanting to keep from upsetting anybody or making anybody mad. That's managing people's emotions, okay? Saying yes when what you really mean is no. And putting pressure on yourself, any kind, to perform, to be perfect, all those kinds of pressure, those are exhausting. And it won't matter how much sleep you get until we break that pattern. And that's why I'm always saying it's not the problem, it's the pattern. We get real caught up in the problem because the problem's obvious and it serves a point, right? Like that problem of, I'm sleeping plenty. I'm in this very relaxing, tropical, gorgeous place, and I'm still exhausted. So the problem of exhausted is great because it points the finger to, okay, I have a pattern that actually needs resolving here. So it takes us into a deeper understanding of what's causing that problem. All right. And that's Very important. I also want to be clear on this. This pattern is costing you. And it's not just costing you in the rest department or the not feeling rested. Yes, it's doing that. But when we are running these patterns where we feel responsible for how other people are feeling or what their reactions are, oh, it's my fault because I said this or did this and now they're upset. That's you taking responsibility for someone else's reaction. That is not your responsibility. You could have said or asked for the exact same thing from somebody else who wouldn't have cared one bit. So anytime we start trying to manage other people's emotions, we will be exhausted. It will cost you in your energy levels and in your ability to stay within your own truth. And anytime we're outside of our truth, that's just going to be tiring anyway, because it actually takes a lot more energy to conform to the patterns we've been raised on and cultured into. Hello, patriarchy, hello, women are supposed to serve, all kinds of things. Those are actually more taxing on our nervous systems and our emotional systems and on our body physically than being in our truth. So it is costing you to stay in these patterns. You may be keeping the peace, but at your own cost, the cost to your own well-being. Because even if we temporarily solve the problem, you go to paradise to live, you get plenty of sleep, you change jobs or you change lovers or whatever it is that feels like it's the problem, because the pattern is causing the problem. Until we address that pattern, the problem's just going to reemerge, and maybe it has a different face on it. It looks a little different circumstance, something like that, but it will be fundamentally the same problem, because the only way out is to actually deal with the pattern. That's why so often, I'm sure you've experienced this, a weekend away or a big shopping trip or even like a whole vacation, right? Feels great at the time. I'm a big shopper, so I love that buzz of some good retail therapy. I love a vacation. It'll feel great in the moment, but very shortly after you return, very shortly after those packages are unpacked, the problem will just reoccur, because it's the pattern that we've got to get to actually really solve the problem. So today it says cocktails and coaching. So we are making a cocktail, and then I'm going to give you some actual, tips, some good tools to use to start to address what's really going on. So today we're going to have an espresso martini. I love me a little caffeine plus a cocktail, right? Like, what's wrong with that? So I have my shaker. Now tonight I'm using my Yeti shaker, which is kind of fun because since it's thermal, it's great if you want to make 2 drinks at once and just leave the one sitting in here. For me, an espresso martini is best with the ratios of 2, 1, and 1. So it's 2 vodka, 1 espresso, 1 Kahlua. All right. I don't like my coffee super sweet. I do drink my coffee with cream in it, so you could play with using Bailey's if you like that, but that's going to also make it a lot sweeter. So to me, I love the creaminess of it, but I don't like the sweetness of it. It makes it too sweet. If you like your coffee pretty sweet, you're going to love that. You might want to add a little more Kahlua or sweeten your espresso before it cools off. So you can play with this, but the ratios that to me are really nice is 2 vodka, 1 espresso, 1 triple sec. You can also play around with using like a vanilla vodka. A lot of bars put vanilla vodka in their espresso martinis. Again, it makes it a little sweeter. I don't keep it around the house, whatever. I really prefer regular vodka. So I've already measured this off. So I've got my 2 vodkas. I've got my adorable espresso cup from, yes, Playa del Carmen. Pour that in there, and Last but not least, my Kahlua. Never be worried by noticing my hands shake. It's okay, nothing wrong. It's just a physical response to a childhood trauma. Okay, so we're gonna shake that up, make it nice and cold. Pour some off. Now, again, as a perfectionist or in a bar, this is gonna have, so you can see the color there, let me move my finger, a little foaminess on top. This is gonna have three whole coffee beans on top as a garnish. I don't tend to mess with garnishes. I don't know. I like them, but at home it just feels like a pain, and I want my cocktail to be easy and fun. So I don't know. I don't get hung up on garnishes at home. You would think I would, because I'm that kind of girl. But anyway, so now let's get into enjoy your espresso martini. Some of these tools. So here's something you can try that will just help you see this, right? Like, we can't fix this in a quick tool on YouTube, okay? But I want to give you something you can actually start to apply to start to feel it, okay? To start to feel that little break. So the next time, for instance, you feel the pull to say yes when you really don't want to, or you're not even sure, right? Like, sometimes we get an invitation to something and it just hits us and we don't even know. Do we want to say yes or no? But then it's hard to say no, and so we just say yes, right? So the next time that happens, you're going to say, let me get back to you. Let me get back to you on that. It's very friendly. It's very nice. You could say, I'm going to consider that and get back to you, but you don't have to say that. Just let me get back to you. So simple. And these simple phrases are really powerful when we're breaking habits. Habits love to move very fast. Patterns, sometimes obviously I use the word habits, but patterns love to move fast. So when your mind is going super fast and what's coming out of your mouth or wants to come out of your mouth is super fast, it's likely you are in a pattern. And so to be able to say, let me get back to you on that, is a great way to slow that pattern down. And that's what we want to do. That is such a victory. Now you may be thinking, not good enough, Brenda. I don't want to just slow it down. I want to stop it. Okay. But this pattern has been running in you for years, most of your life probably. And so it is so unrealistic of you to think, oh, I watched this great video and I got this great tip and it worked. I slowed it down, so now it should be gone. No. That would be like going to the gym as a couch potato and thinking you're going to hop on the treadmill for an hour or go to, the yoga class and get through the whole class. We can't transform our insides or our outsides that fast. We have to be gracious and loving enough with ourselves, compassionate enough with ourselves to give ourselves the time and the support, which is exactly why I do the way out session. Now you're going to see the link to that down in the description. But in that session, we can take an issue and get through that specific thing for you, whatever is appearing as the problem, find the pattern, find a couple ways to interrupt it, right? And then actually work on, okay, so now if that were to happen to me another time, how would I want to respond? So that you can bring these components ultimately together. Now, it's still a work that you have to stay dedicated to, right? Because that pattern, until you've interrupted it and then changed it enough times for a new neural pathway to form, it's always going to be easier for your brain to go to the pattern. That's what habits are, right? So you could use that word if you like it better than pattern. You could say it's a habit because it is a habit. The habit of saying yes when I mean no. The habit of feeling like how someone else feels or is going to respond to what I have to tell them is more important than me being truthful about what I have to tell them. I had a client recently who has had a lot of loss in her life, people close to her that have passed, and tragic ways. And she said when she was a little girl, she realized that for anybody who was grieving, if they could just give her their pain, she could handle it. Now, that's big. That is a coping mechanism because nobody was there for her to help her as the little girl, like the adults around her were not able to support her in appropriate ways to deal with her own grief. So she just learned as a coping mechanism how to sort of just shore herself up anyway. Now, is that a great coping mechanism? Oh, it's great when you're 8. It's not as great when you're 40 because now it's keeping you from all kinds of things. It's keeping her exhausted. It's keeping her staying responsible for things that are not hers because, of course, none of us can carry somebody else's feelings. None of us can carry somebody else's grief. So the psyche sets us all up when we're little with things like that that are helpful in the moment, helpful at that time, given our circumstances and what we're experiencing. But it's not really meant to last forever. And so at some point I've had clients who figure this out in their 20s and are in coaching in their 20s. Oftentimes it's late 30s, 40s, 50s, beyond. I had a client in her 80s once who was like, I'm so tired of this. I want to change this pattern. So it can happen at any age. It's never too late. It's never too soon. But we have to do this really intentional work because that neuro pathway, like a groove in a road, like it has been, run over and over and over and over. And so it's hard to jump out of the groove and go in a different direction. But it can be done. I've done it. I did it in Playa del Carmen. I do it all the time with clients that I'm coaching, and I would love to do it with you. So take this tool and be gracious with yourself. Know that this tool alone, let me get back to you on that. And that works for so many things. Even if you're over-explaining or some little version of it, even if you catch yourself over-explaining, you can just stop and be like, I've probably given you enough information. Let me know if you have any questions. Boom. I don't care what level of professional situation you're in, that's appropriate, respectable response. Like, let me just stop there. You can ask me any questions you want. I've probably given you everything you need to know. And then let them ask if they have any more questions. That's their responsibility, not yours to anticipate them and answer them all before they could possibly ask them, okay? So I want you to really feel this in your body. Feel how the first step is to be able to notice it, to get past the problem that is at the top layer, so to speak, and then find that pattern underneath. Now, you may not be able to find the pattern. That's okay. Again, that's why we do the way out session, because I can help you. It can be very hard to find your own pattern. A lot of times we'll just go to another problem because those are the things that we're most aware of consciously. Patterns are stored in our subconscious. And so that's why a lot of times it takes someone outside of you, like me, to help you even actually find the pattern. Other times I have people who are so super aware, they know what the pattern is, but they're still stuck in it, right? And this is where we keep thinking, why am I still doing this? Why am I still saying yes when I mean no? Why am I still in this relationship that doesn't serve me? Why am I still in this job that doesn't serve me? Why am I still doing my business this way because it's killing me? Being in the grind and putting all this pressure on myself. Why am I still doing this? That's a pattern in motion. Whether you know what to call it or not, that's exactly how you know a pattern is running the show. And that is why the way out ends up being such a pivotal session for people, because I'm going to work with you to take you out of this. Our problems are like whack-a-mole, right? Remember that game? Whack-a-mole, they're just going to keep popping up. You get one down, another one pops up. One down, another one pops up. That's what problems are. Patterns are learning how to unplug the whack-a-mole thing so they stop popping up. you'll never be problem free, right? But your relationship to your problems changes completely when we deal with the pattern.